So. I asked. No. Then we go walk around places, but we don't go up mountains, so I went out there.
Good morning, Renee.
Houses and stuff in the back there. It was no way. We just told you that cars will walk around that. That's the ice and cake place, you see what the free place.
Welcome, Renee.
Okay, good. Okay, good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the Leisure World Photography Club meeting. Glad you're here. Let's go ahead and get started here. Zoom keeps getting in the way here. Hang on. Oh, okay, we're okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Did everybody sign in? I hope. Please sign in because we need to get credit for this room. We don't want to lose this room. Okay. We have our own group, email group. We have our own website. We have a lockbox to put things in when they're due. Here's our crew that keeps the doors open and keeps us running smooth most of the time. Holiday party tonight. So those of you that signed up, we'll see you there at 5 o'clock. And here's what everybody is bringing. And the club is providing the main course, the plates, napkins, soft drinks, beverages, wine, and water and ice. So if you signed up, we'll be happy to see you there. Okay, is Betsy here?
No.
She's just coming on.
How close is she, I wonder?
Well, I think she, in waiting, she fell asleep, so she may not be that.
Okay. We'll move on and come back. The Leisure World Foundation, we do have this exhibit coming up, and we're looking for people to sign up. And that's all we want at this point, is just to fill out the form that you intend to exhibit and turn that in either at the regular weekly meeting, or you can put it in the lockbox. Either one is fine. But basically, it just needs the basic information of the name of the title or the name of the picture, a name that you've given it, whether it's portrait or landscape, the dimensions, and whether you need Velcro or wire hook to hang it. So we have some entry forms at the back of the room. The entry form has also been emailed twice. However, if you miss all of those and you still want to participate, be sure and email me and I'll send you a personal copy. Not only is there an opportunity for those who are going to exhibit to sign up, but there's also a space at the bottom for volunteers, and we do need at least 5 volunteers. The instructions for the actual day of the show, which will have all the details about where to be and when and what to bring and all that stuff, that will be issued at a later time, and you'll all be in the loop on that. So anyway, for now, we need the entry form so that we know what we have to deal with, and when the details are ready, we will get those to you. Someone let me know when Betsy gets here, and I'll back up.
May I say something about the foundation?
Yes, please. Yes, Charlene, please.
One of the benefits of being a volunteer is that you need to know that unlike the art show, spaces are not assigned. And so we put up the number of panels that we think are going to be needed. But first come, first serve on the panels. The great thing about being a volunteer is pretty much you're first on the scene. So if you'd like to keep that in mind in terms of the benefit to you for volunteering, I hope you do. And again, please recognize that we're going to be assigning you panels. You'll have a little name tag to put on top of each and every panel that you get. And you can put your pictures on there as you desire. So I just wanted to add that.
That's very helpful information, Charlene. And also this, a little more specific instructions will be issued at a later date, but thank you for that, Charlene. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Hi, I won't be able to be there on the 26th. Can I participate anyway?
You already have company. Just fill out the entry form and get the pictures ready. And they probably won't fit in the Dropbox, right? So just coordinate with me on when you'd like it.
Probably will, because I'm not going to training them. So it'll be-
Oh, are they gonna be 8 by 10 or less? Okay, that's fine. All right, that'll be fine. Okay, good. So fill out the entry form for now, and then the deadline for the entry form is the 19th. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. That's one of the things you need to know. Deadline for the entry is the 19th, and then the pictures themselves, bring them with you the day of the show, just like we do for the Fall Art Show. If you're not going to be available that day, then work with me individually and we'll get your pictures up for you. Okay? All right, fair enough. Thank you. Here's where we are on the calendar. We got the party tonight and our regular meeting, got a board meeting next week. Don't forget the scavenger hunt is still out there. So far, we only have one participant in the scavenger hunt. I hope we can keep this event alive. I hope it hasn't gone the way of the albatross, but who knows? But we do have one entry at this point, and I hope to have more. On the 26th, as we already discussed, is the Leisure World Foundation exhibit. And that takes us on into February. Okay. Here's where we are on the seasonal planner. Today is January 8th. The monthly challenge for the display case is Twisted. Today's weekly challenge is 3, and today there'll be a video lesson, and then tonight's the holiday party. So, and then next week we'll have toys, a video lesson, and the scavenger hunt. And then the following week there'll be no share because there will be a guest speaker. Peter Koskin, who is a nature photographer, will be here. So there's your weekly challenges that are coming up. Here's the display case details. January 31st, the deadline on Twisted. Here's how we finished up December. December, we finished with 4 participants and 8 photos, which is good. And then January, I think we have a couple of turn-ins already, so we'll update this on the next meeting. The weekly activities, we're going to do a video lesson today. This is a new series, and we'll have the first lesson today. It's called Landscape Photographer, Landscape Artist. And what this is it'll be an introduction from the 2 experts that are going to be giving the lessons. So give us the first look at them. Did we just have batteries die? Yes, we did. Testing. Okay, so guest speaker on the 22nd, video lesson on the 29th, and that'll be 4 lessons, 4 kinds of light in landscapes. We have a new feature called postcards. A postcard is a noun. It's a card for sending a message by mail without an envelope, typically having a photograph or other illustration on one side. For example, he promised to send me a picture postcard. But anyway, if you go someplace and want to remember someone at home, you send them a picture postcard to share an experience. That's basically what we'll be doing, but without the post office. So we have a volunteer, Michelle Reinhold, who happens to have been docent at one of the museums back in her hometown. So she has stepped forward to and offered to do the first two, and then the third will follow up a little bit later. Are you finding batteries, Walt?
Our backup microphone,
Oh, a backup microphone.
which is the
Does it work? Oh, how about that? Okay, let me introduce Michelle to you and let her say a few words about what we have coming up.
Okay, so the very first talk, it was kind of inspired by a tour that I gave a couple years ago called Snapshot. And actually it was based on the influence that photographers had on photography. The photography influenced their painting. Well, I thought, well, for us, it would be really interesting to learn, how did photography begin? And as we all know, if you wanted your portrait before we had the camera, you had to be very, very wealthy and had to go to a painter. Well, I'm going to take it from the very beginning when the camera was invented, and it's going to be, as you see, a 10-minute overview, which is very challenging because you can get bachelor degrees, you can go to classes, there's just volumes and volumes. So I'm going to condense it down in a really fun way and share with you some really fun facts, and I think it'll be enjoyable.
And the second one will be
Oh, the second one is once again focusing on early portraits. And Arnold Newman is the father of environmental portraits. And so he did something which is very common today, but in the day he was the first. And he would take a setter and put them in the environment of what would make that person speak. So an example, there'd be a professor and he would be with books, or there might be a very famous actress. So you can actually help guess who the sitter is if you might know them, but definitely we'll be looking kind of like at the composition, the technique. There's no right or wrong about what you'll be seeing, but I think it will give us an eye when we go out with our cameras, something that we can do differently.
excellent. Thank you. I'm looking forward to these postcards. And number 3 is open right now. If you have a suggestion, something that you have knowledge on and would like to present to the group, shoot me an email and we can take it from there. Anyway, it's not a full feature. It's anything from 10 to 20 minutes, and it'll be sandwiched between the you'll be sandwiched somewhere in the meeting right around the weekly challenge. So that's something new to look forward to. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Today's agenda, we've had the welcome. We've given you pretty much the updates of what's going on. Then we're gonna have the weekly challenge, which is 3. And then we'll have today's activity, which is the landscape photographer video. I threw this 3 photograph in here. This is Ruth Orkin, the work of Ruth Orkin. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her. She was a famous street photographer. But this is 3 boys on a suitcase in Penn Station. I thought that really summed up 3 just perfectly. And then, okay, I think that's it. And in conclusion, thank you for coming. Just kidding. Okay. Let's see here.
Not at your house.
No, it's not a my house.
Did we go over the party tonight?
You did, but could you reiterate it?
Yes, so 5 o'clock. We're gathering in the King Card Room / banquet room. You have to have signed up for it, so hopefully you signed up for it. And you bring what you said you were going to bring, and you put it in the kitchen area. There'll be people there to guide you and so forth. I'm not going to be there after 4:30. That's because I'm picking up the chicken at 4:30. But there'll be people there to greet you, and then we'll get started at 5. We'll break bread together. We'll have some conversation and some fun, and no later than 7:30 we'll break up and go home. All right. What I leave out? Anything?
Oh, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
I'm heading up to the gym for a short workout, all right? You want the car or anything? You going out? No?
Oh, Betsy. Betsy, yeah. Betsy, can I ask you to go ahead and, I'm sorry, I couldn't get you when we were going through the presentation, but can you bring us up to speed on the photo shoot before we get
Well,
started?
on the photo shoot, we do not have a sufficient number of people.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We don't have a sufficient number to hold a photo shoot at this point. We have to have 15 in order for it to be free. Or not free, in order for it to be a group. So
Okay.
we might have to postpone that, but we will let you know after the date, the close date
So what
for
was the deadline again?
Monday.
Monday. Okay. If additional people sign up between now and Monday, we'll provide further details. If not, you can
Right.
consider the fact that we did not meet the minimum and we'll have to postpone it. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough.
Okay, super. Thanks, Betsy.
Bob, how many people so far?
I believe it's 8.
Okay. I'm gonna sign up.
Quite a ways to go.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what we can do here. Continue to have navigation problems here. Michelle, you want to get started?
All right. So what really attracted me to this were the 3 seagulls, but I really liked the backdrop. And that was taken at the Sydney Port, or is it, the Opera House, at the Opera House. But I just really love the contrast of the really white against the backdrop.
Very nice.
This particular photograph, it was the patina, and it just, I don't know, there's just so much emotion and feeling, and I love the texture of the sculpture of the dresses and the smoothness of the skin, and
Where is that?
that was up in Montreal.
Montreal. Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, very nice. Well, navigation is getting to be a real chore here. Paula.
Okay.
Paula, you're up.
These are elk up at Greer. I'm enjoying the meadow at sunset.
Female elk. There's three.
They're all snapping photos of the same thing, whatever it was.
That is funny. That is funny.
Birds again. This is up in the Olympic Peninsula on the beach.
Gertrude and Heathcliff. Never mind. That's another story.
I love that beach.
Oh, the three bears.
This is up in Fork, outside of Fork in the Olympic Peninsula, where we're going to go on a rafting trip. And they were just sitting there, dry snapping.
The baby's porridge was just right.
There's my daughter and her sons last week on the South Carolina coast. I don't know who got where.
A great shot.
It's cold. You know, it actually wasn't all that cold. And then there is the Cologne Cathedral, three of the windows back in the altar.
Beautiful.
C's logo caught that Hermit's Rest of the Grand Canyon.
The ironic thing is I used to work for a company called Triple C,
Oh, really?
Consolidated Cigar Corporation. So that's what I read when I first saw it. So I'm glad you clarified.
It's also a Chandler Community College, but no, it's good conservation corps. This again is me and my two grandsons, and we were looking at pictures in the phone of them. They love doing that.
Cool. All right. And last but not least, Bob. This is at the Science Museum. This is in Oatman, on the front, 3 booths on the front porch in Oatman. This was a trio that we enjoyed very much. I believe it was on our Panama Canal cruise, but they were just lovely. We enjoyed their music every evening before dinner and during dinner sometimes.
What ship?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I don't remember. 3 Antelope. I think that was at the Wild Animal Park. Not sure. This is in a saloon in at the Fort Worth Stockyards, but three buffalo head. This is at from the Coca-Cola plant in Atlanta, Georgia. 3 bottles of Coke. This is at the site of the largest cross, I think, in the United States. I'm not sure. It's in Groom, Texas. It's on the I-40. You can see it for miles. This isn't it. This is just one of the depictions. It has the Stations of the Cross around the base. And it's really quite something to see. But there's Jesus and the 2 criminals that were executed at the same time. This is a 3-tiered church, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost in Jerome, California, or in Jerome, Arizona. They worship at 9 a.m., but it's a tri-level church. And that concludes. Let's see. So we'll start our feature.
Whether you travel the world or Don't just spend time in your backyard. Chances are there are landscapes or wildlife or both that to your life stay connected to nature. In this course, National Geographic photographers Michael Melford and Tim Lane share tips and techniques they have acquired from years of photographing nature in the field.
I'm Michael Melford, and I've been a photographer for National Geographic for 30 years. I'll take you with me to gorgeous places. We photograph landscapes, skyscapes, and waterscapes to stay aware of the beauty of the natural world around us. You'll learn to master the basics: shutter speed, aperture, ISO. You get to know them by experimenting. The gear is simple, even as simple as that phone in your pocket. The secret is to know the gear well enough to forget about it as you focus on the beauty of the moment.
I'm Tim Lehman, and I've been a wildlife photographer for National Geographic for 20 years. I'll take you along on a variety of projects and expeditions from the top of the rainforest canopy to the depths of the coral reefs. Using a case study approach, we'll see how I've learned to cope with all sorts of conditions: snow, rain, mud, to capture award-winning images for National Geographic. In the process, I'll cover the practical, technical, and artistic aspects that have to come together for successful wildlife photography.
Whatever your level of experience or interest in photography, and whatever equipment you use, Michael Melford and Tim Lehman will show you how satisfying and enjoyable it is to capture a bit of this beautiful world in a photo of your own.
No, you don't have the wrong course here. These lessons aren't about fly fishing. They're about landscape photography. I'm Michael Melford, and I'm here to help you get to the next level of your landscape photography. I like to fly fish, and landscape photography is very similar to fly fishing. You go out to beautiful places in pursuit of the elusive, and if you are in the right place at the right time and you don't mess up, you come home with a nice fish. You are rewarded. But really, it is the journey. And that's the reward, the experience of being out in nature and having all other thoughts and worries of your life left behind. As landscape photographers, we are on this quest for the perfect image, and it usually happens when the light is magical. When we get it, it is so special, but it is a learning process just like fly fishing. Now, we don't always get the big fish or the perfect photograph, but what is important is to enjoy yourself as you progress. I'm here to help you, to teach you what to look for, what the process is of being a landscape photographer. We will go on this journey together, but first, you should know, as a landscape photographer, you must know your craft, your instrument. A violin doesn't make its own music. First, you have to learn the notes, the scales. You have to practice, develop an ear, have the instrument become an extension of you, just like the camera. You have to practice. And it doesn't matter how many violins or cameras you have. If they're not an extension of you, you will not make music. To me, there are three kinds of photographers. There is the photographer who knows the craft. They know everything about it. They can count pixels. They know what chromatic aberration is. I'm not sure I do, but they're really good technically. And then there is that person who comes and says, well, I don't know any of this stuff. I put the camera on the little green square and I go out and shoot. Okay, that's good. They can see. the art of seeing than we are the craft. However, on the technical side, this is what you need to know, and you need to know it cold. So you don't have to think about it. Copy this down, study it until it becomes part of you. But if you're not technically minded, no worries. We will be dealing with the art of seeing rather than the craft of photography, more so in this course. You can put the camera on the little green auto button if you like, but the more you know your instrument, the better off you are. Now, I got my first camera when I was 19 years old. I was in Europe and I went with a friend of my father's who was an art director, went out, he came with me, I bought a camera, and afterwards he said to me, now you have an instrument that will help you to express your feelings. I never thought about that. I wasn't even sure I had feelings. I just wanted it to record my summer hitchhiking around Europe. So I went out, first time I had the camera, it was raining. I went out and made a shot. Well, somehow it wasn't really capturing my feelings at all. You know, if you go out and you take a picture and you come back and it's not really the way you saw it, that's what I'm here for. So I hope to take you from the disappointment of not getting what you saw, what you felt, to translating it into the next level. So why do we love landscape photography? Well, for myself, I like to get up in the middle of the night. I like to hike a mountain in the dark, to be on top for when the magic happens, and to capture it, and to be up there and watch it. Sometimes I come home with something and sometimes I don't. To experience nature, the raw nature out there with wind and rain, you know, it's just a matter of dressing for the weather. What do they say? There's no bad weather, there's only bad clothing. I subscribe to that. Doesn't matter how cold it is, I can dress for it. So what is landscape? What is a landscape photograph? Well, it's out in nature. You know, it can have a horizon line, usually a foreground, middle ground, background. But what we are after here is more about emotion than a formula for a landscape. We want to capture the feeling that you had when you were seeing something that took your breath away. And there's no need for a horizon line. We just want to capture what we saw, the emotion, the feeling. That's what I really hope that we get out, you get out of this course. The process of photographing landscapes can be a slow, thoughtful process. To me, it is a form of meditation. All thoughts leave me, other than what is in front of me. God is in the details. I'm not thinking about other stuff, just thinking about what's there. Landscape photography is a vehicle to get us out into nature. How cool is that? And digital makes it much easier, as it is more forgiving than film ever was. With film, my exposures had to be a quarter of a stop. I had to know that craft so well. But now with digital, we can see right away if we're messing up. And it's more forgiving on the exposures. That's why so many people are into it, okay? And I'm really into just seeing with this a lot. I love this camera. But it can also be more difficult to express ourselves, as the camera, the digital camera, is all so perfect and takes control of us. It can almost be too sterile and too perfect. We have to take some control from the camera. Now, I'm a purist. I don't mess with anything. I like to see what I have. I like to put good stuff in front of me in the right light. And I'm not taking telephone wires out of pictures. At National Geographic, we don't manipulate anything because then you wouldn't believe the images that you saw. And I believe in that. However, it doesn't mean that you have to believe in that too. Now, if you think about a landscape architect, what is a landscape architect? It's someone who takes the land and changes it to make it better. Basically, they're manipulating the landscape. So in the same vein, you go landscape architect, you could say landscape photographer. You can manipulate things and change them to make them better. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. For myself, I don't do it, but it's just an option for you, depending on what level of technique you want to get into it, how much time you want to spend in front of the computer. I want to spend as little as possible. I want to be outside shooting it. Okay? I like to reproduce it as I see it. As I see it, not necessarily as the camera captures it, but this is what film always did for me. Or you can manipulate it. Go right ahead. I won't do it, but I bless you for doing it. Now, I will give you ideas on where to go to shoot. That's part of the course. Yosemite Valley, you have to go there. Death Valley, we will go together to Death Valley in one of our lessons. And I'll show you how to keep it simple and come home having a great time and an image you're proud of. Having a great time, that's the key. Coming home with an image you're proud of, that's the bonus. I'll share with you how important it is to go out at different times of day. Okay, you see it like this, it looks pretty cool. You found a location, why not return there in the afternoon at sunset and get a little bit magic happening there? Or you've seen a nice shot and you've captured it and it looks great, and then you return to that area a few years later. This is Glacier National Park. We'll go there together too. And then I went back there a few years later. I want to go back to the same spot and take the same picture. Well, the boats had all changed. It's pretty cool. It's the journey. Like fly fishing, it's not the big fish that you catch. It's really the experience of being out there. Now, I will also introduce you to a new perspective, a new way of seeing landscape from above. And it's really simple. So at this point, what I'd like to do is to show you some people who have influenced me along the way. Early on that year that I bought my camera, age 19, I was in Europe. I ended up in London and I discovered Monet. It was really the first experience I had with art. And it really turned me on. The colors that he used, you know, his brush strokes, how he saw the light, the composition. And I sat in front of a triptych of water lilies of Monet in London. And it was like a religious experience to me. I just, you know, I had goosebumps. I didn't cry, but I certainly could have. And then from there, in my hitchhiking around Europe, I went up to Amsterdam and I sat in front of Van Gogh's. I went to the Van Gogh Museum. I was the only one there. It was empty. The room, I would sit in a room full of Van Goghs and look at them for hours. It was just amazing. Now, he had a vision. He had his own vision. You look at this painting, you don't wonder who painted this. You know right away. And he had a color palette too. He had a few different color palettes that he liked to use, but this blue-green combination he liked a lot. And yellow-brown he used a lot too. Now, in photography, Ansel Adams, the first person who really influenced me in photography and probably to this day influences me. He photographed the American West, and there are so many quotes that come from him. And here are a few I'll share with you. A great photo is one that fully expresses what one feels about what is being photographed. a good photograph is knowing where to stand. Now, how true is that? You stand here, it's not quite happening. You move over here and you end up with a good shot. And I'll show you some examples of that as well. Sometimes I get to places when God's ready to have somebody click the shutter. Has that ever happened to you? I know it's happened to me. You get somewhere, the light is just perfect, and you've got about a minute to shoot it, if that. That's a nice quote. I like that one too. And another one, landscape photography is the supreme test of the photographer, and often the supreme disappointment. I can attest to that for sure. Now, the next man who influenced me, Ernst Haas, he didn't have a camera till he was 28 years old. Isn't that amazing? He came from a repressed country of Czechoslovakia, came over to the United States. He was the first man who shot color with a 35mm camera. You know, Ansel shot big, he shot black and white. Elliot Porter shot big, he shot color. But Ernst Haas, he shot small, which made him much more flexible, which is what's nice about the digital camera too. And here's a couple of quotes from Ernst Haas. You become things, you become an atmosphere. And if you become it, which means you incorporate it within you, you can also give it back. It gives me goosebumps. The images give me goosebumps. He's so incredible. You can put this feeling into a picture. A painter can do it, and a musician can do it. And I think a photographer can do that too. And that I would call dreaming with open eyes. Dreaming with open eyes is pretty nice, to walk around in nature and dream with open eyes. Now, another man that influenced me as I was graduating college was David Munch. He's still alive. He does workshops. He has a son, Mark, and the two of them do workshops together. I hope to take one. I'm sure I still have a lot to learn from him. And he was out there with the big camera, with the 8x10, up in the Sierras, shooting color, selling them or giving them to the Sierra Club. And I wanted to be this guy. I would get out with my 8x10 or my 4x5. Of course, growing up on the East Coast, I didn't have scenery like this, but I studied his work. He understood light composition. He understood the craft. And then when I came to New York to be a photographer and I started looking at more magazines and who else was out there, I found this gentleman, Sam Abel, and he was a National Geographic photographer. Now, isn't it everybody's dream to be a National Geographic photographer? Well, if an issue came out of the Geographic, I could look through it, and when Sam had an article, I knew that it was Sam's, and I would study it. Sam grew up in Ohio, and in Ohio, there are not a lot of mountains there, but there's a lot of horizon line. So the horizon line is pretty important to Sam. And he talks about that and he uses it a lot. There it is, right in the middle of the photograph. Same thing there, but he's done something a little more interesting with it. Now, Sam's not just about the horizon line. He saw stuff that I never saw. I didn't see stuff like this. I was learning from Sam how to see. And I encourage you also to look at other artwork to help you to see composition. I mean, how cool is that? Look at that perfect composition. So that was very helpful. And yes, I wanted to be these guys. So there I am at a younger age. I have the view camera. And the nice thing about the view camera in the old days with film, you shot 2 sheets of film. Put it in the film holder, you shoot one side, you pull it out, you turn around, you shoot the other side. You develop one sheet, you look at how the exposure is. If you need to adjust it, you would do it in development. It was a very slow, methodical, and thoughtful process, which was great. Often chasing the light, Well, we still are chasing the light, aren't we? And you end up with a really high quality image. I went out with that view camera. It doesn't matter about the weather. You just got to get the right clothing, get some umbrellas. Some of the best pictures happen in the worst weather. There's the shot from that. So let's talk about what we'll cover in these lessons on landscape photography. We'll talk a lot about composition and light. Light being pretty important. We'll do a lesson on color in landscapes, the use of color. And this is really interesting. There'll be a lot of fun. I'm a color photographer. I love landscapes, and there's a lot of different color in landscapes. Then we'll do a lesson on research, how important it is to research before you go. Sure, you can go and just wander around and look for pictures, but to save time, if you research it, you know where to go. Boom, you're there for the best light, for what's happening, where the best picture is at the right time. We'll talk about the importance of sky and weather and how to anticipate what's happening in the sky, what's happening with the clouds, what's happening with the sun. And since it's a landscape lesson, why not talk about water and call it waterscape, right? We all have water near us. Most of the earth is made of water. So we'll do a little lesson on water and different tricks to play with water. Then we're going to push the envelope a little bit. We're going to try some things that you wouldn't normally think of. You're going to experiment. You're going to sketch with the camera. And this is the lesson that I will talk a bit about the craft, the technical side. So you can either really pay attention to this or just kind of push it aside. But really what you want to do for yourself is you want to concentrate on your weakest skill. If it's scene, you want to really pay attention more to the lessons on scene. And if your weakest skill is the technical side, well, then you can watch it a couple of times. Now we'll do a lesson on what's in my bag. I'll bring my bag out. I like to keep things very simple, very simple. All of my pictures are taken with what's in a backpack that goes on my back. And so I will teach you how to very simply change your image from this to this just by turning a filter, a polarizing filter. Have you ever gone out and been in a situation where you have no control at all? You're traveling with family or you're on a group tour. How do we go from here, where we have absolutely no control with the group, and come home with a big fish, right? So I will take you with me as I go on this tour where I'm with a group and try and show you and help you to anticipate and to deal with the fact that you got no control. Because usually you want to stop, you want to look at the light, you want to wait for the light, you want to be able to go here or go here and not be in a rush. But on these group tours, we don't have that luxury. Now we'll also do a lesson on editing. Taking the picture is really just the first step. Half of the shot, half of getting the shot is, what do we call it now? Capturing a file. So we'll do a session on editing, on how to find the image that stands out from all the rest. I think it's that one. What do you think? No. So I'll take you through it. I'll show you. We'll start with an assignment that I did where I shot 10,000 images. But don't worry, you won't have to look at all 10,000. We'll narrow it down to 2 or 3. And that's how it is at the Geographic. We'll go out and shoot 10,000 images in a month or more. I probably shoot less than everyone else. And we come home and we narrow 10,000 down to 40, but we only publish maybe 10. So, and then we're going to do a session on development. So editing, development, we're gonna use the same software. I'm gonna do a live session, 2 live sessions, where I'm actually sitting at the laptop. I can show you everything that I do. Again, I like to keep things simple. I don't like sitting in front of the computer. I'd rather be outside. So there's not a lot of manipulation. I just want to make the picture look like how it looked when I took the picture. In the old days, we shot film. You went out, you shot, you came home, you sent the film off, and 2 weeks later, you got the film back and you held it up to the light. There was no manipulating it after that, and there was no instant gratification. So it made me, a pretty good craftsman, but in digital photography, I like my digital images to look the way that film would look. Well, when they come back, especially when you're shooting raw, they'll come back looking like this. Well, that's not how it looked when I shot it. It looked like this when I shot it. And so you now have the controls with digital to manipulate it or massage it, I like to say, to tweak it, massage it, to make it look not how the raw file captured it, because it makes it flat, just inherently part of the technology. And I have to massage it to make it look the way it was when I saw it. Now, every good photograph consists of 3 elements: composition, light, content, or moment. A friend of mine says, find the light and shoot what's in it. I stood here and waited for several hours for the light to get right. Of course, I'm shooting all the time. I'm looking at this lens, I'm trying that lens, I'm looking over here, I'm looking over my shoulder for the bears too, because Glacier National Park, and I always carry pepper spray with me when I'm in bear country. Now, there are 3 tools that will get us to where we want to go. It's that holy triangle, I like to call it: shutter speed, aperture, ISO, right? We're back to that triangle. So everything that we do, unless we're with our phones or have it on the little green square, we're thinking about aperture and shutter and ISO. That's the technical stuff, and we'll play with that as well. And when you are finished with these lessons, go back and watch a second time. And it should all blend together, because each lesson will be teaching material from the other lessons as well. And you will see how easy it is. And if you are patient and you persevere, you will find that it is very much like fly fishing. You go out, you be with nature, you enjoy yourself, and occasionally you capture a big fish. Yes, I do let almost all the fish I catch go. This beautiful tarpon swam off after we took it. After all, the point is to enjoy the journey. Let's begin. Thank you.
Okay. What else?
This is a good series. Are we going to have?
Yeah, this is a new one.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of different parts to it. Are we going to have them all?
Charlene has done us a favor. She's reviewed each and every one of them and filtered out the good parts. And we are going to show the good parts. There are some that wouldn't be relevant to a big group, like the bag contents, and just to use an example. But we won't show all of them, but we will show the ones that make the most sense. All right, so we have what's tonight, we have what's next week. we have everything we need. If there's no other questions or anything, I guess we're adjourned. All right, great. Thanks for coming. I'll see you tonight. All right, take care.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Bye.